Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for reminding me. Okay. So everyone, okay. So now this is our switch 1 connected to switch 2 and switch 3, something like that. Okay.
Sorry, we
And
don't hear a screen. We don't hear a
oh,
screen.
okay. Just wait a moment. What about now?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now. So like this, I'm gonna attach switch 1 to switch 2 and switch 2, 3 like this. Okay. And these all are interfaces on respective switches, such as 0 by 0, 0 by 1, 0 by 0, 0 by 0, 0 by 1, and 0 by 1. Like this. Okay. Now, so let's suppose there are some PCs which attach on all the switches. Switch 2, switch 3, and switch 1 like this. Okay. Now let's suppose what happens. This PC1 is trying to communicate with PC6 on switch 1. What happens? Yeah, we want to ask something?
No.
Okay. So let's suppose the ICMP request, which will be generated by PC1, reach to the switch on this interface particularly. Now what will happen? Okay. Switch 2 will receive this ICMP request. Now it has two ways to send this message. One, either we can send directly to switch 1, where PC6 can receive. Other one is to send via switch 3, something like that. Is it fine? Tell me, everyone. Many Abdul, we tell me, is it fine till here?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So on the other hand, let's suppose PC3 is trying to establish a communication link with PC2. Now what will happen? PC3 also generates an ICMP request. And the moment this ICMP3 request reaches on switch 3 on particular interface, what will happen? It has two ways to send this ICMP request to PC2, which is on switch 2. Is one, it can send directly like this. And second one is via switch 1, something like that. Okay. Just see very carefully here. Okay. Don't you think a loop has been forming there? See very, very close. A loop has been forming there. Okay. If STP has not been enabled, then this thing can take place. It means there will be a broadcast from in the network. If STP is not enabled, there will be broadcast song. Is it fine to everyone? Tell me. Anyone is not clear till here, please feel free to ask any question. Where many Abdul?
No, it's
Tell me.
fine.
It's
Fine,
fine.
sir.
Fine. That's good. Let's move ahead. Let's move ahead. Now. So before understanding, okay, we have to understand that how many states and how many port roles are there in switch. Okay. Now, so let's suppose the third point is in STP. In STP, spanning tree protocol, we have 5 states and 3 ports. How many? 3 ports. What are those 5 states? Okay, sometimes you have ever heard from my side that I will tell you that when the communication is down between two switches, we have to wait for 58 seconds. Does anyone
Yes,
of you
sir. So many
remember?
times.
Isn't it? I said most of the time. It is because that STP protocol has been performing. That's why I always used to say that just wait. Wait for 58 seconds, then see what happens. And these are the 5 states: disable, blocking, listening, learning, and the last one is your forwarding. These are the 5 states in STP we have to do. Okay, we have to understand each the meaning of each and every state. And the port roles which I'm talking about, there are 3 port roles. And those port roles are, first is your designated port. The second one would be root port. And the third one would be my alternate port. Alternate. Okay. So these 8 things, 5 states and 3 port roles, now we are going to discuss in today's class. So let's start with the 5 states. The first state is my disabled state. Okay. So the first state is my disabled state. When we will call that switch, the port of the switches are in disabled state. Okay. When? If uh just make sure I'm just during disabled state. During disabled state. Okay. It cannot send or receive any data and cannot send or receive any kind of BPD. Okay, what happens? Just look at this diagram, which I'm just showing you. Okay, in this diagram, you see that a broadcast form will take place and we have to enable STP by default. So what happens? Okay, when we do the connection like this, okay, no, what we did that we took 3 switches and attached to them like this in this fashion. Now what will happen? Okay, they will start negotiating. They will send BPDUs in every 2 seconds to each other. Okay, I will discuss what are BPDUs. Just for the timing, just remember that the BPDUs are sent between the switches, okay, to conduct the elections. Because in order to enable STP, there are two kind of elections which took place. One is your root bridge election, and another one is your root port elections. So these 2 types of elections, they took place only after when the STP has been performed. So whenever I used to say, you guys just wait for 58 seconds. Okay, it means that STP elections are going on. Elections to which? Elections to your root bridge and root. Make sure. Okay. So, and these elections only took place with the help of my BPDUs. So during the disabled state, even the STP elections will not start because it will not send the BPDUs. And forget about the data. Once it will cross the disabled state, okay, and disabled state, make sure it is for 2 seconds, only for 2 seconds. Okay, now let's move on to blocking and blocking state. The second state is your blocking state. Yeah, any question, V? You know, switch on your mic. V. Okay, let's move on. During the blocking state, it cannot send or receive data. However, it can only receive BPDs during this state. Okay, during this state, only it can receive the BPDs, but not any data. And it means in the blocking state, my elections have been started. Make sure of this. Okay, now. Third point, let's move on to the listening state. Under the listening state. Under the listening state, it cannot send or receive data. Okay. However, it can send or receive BPDU on which depends upon port flow. Depends on port nations. Now, let's move on to the fourth state, which is my learning state. Okay. So, whatever you will listen, exactly the copy paste you will, okay, learn. So, learning state is as copied as your listening state. Now, it means it cannot send or receive any data. It cannot send or receive any data, but it can it can send or receive BPDU. Depends upon port flow. And the last one is your forwarding state. Under the forwarding state, it can send or receive any data and can send and receive BPDU depends upon port flow. Okay. Why I am stressing on this word port role? Because whenever you see the port role, if the statement is like thing depends upon port role, it means that I have just discussed that there are 3 types of port role. One is designated port, one is root port, and another one is your alternate. So what happens? Just try to figure it out. under the port rule, under the port rule. Only the designated, only the designated port and root port can send or receive any PPT. But that blockings, sorry, alternate port, but alternate port will not send and receive and send any data. Not send any PPT and not send and receive any. Okay, so make sure the status of this designated port and root port, they goes up to forwarding status. Just a second. They goes up to forwarding state. However, the alternate port, it always stucks in blocking state. Whenever any port is in your blocking state, it will not send or receive any kind of data. However, it can send BPDUs, but not no even it can receive BPDUs. Send, yeah, no, it can send their BPDUs, not receive. Make sure this. Okay, is it fine till here? Each and every one of you, please tell me.
Yes.
Veer, any questions?
No, sir.
Abdul, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, now. So the port rules which I'm talking about the switch port. Just try to understand here. Let's suppose there's a switch. Okay. And as we know, there are multiple LAN ports on this switch. Let's suppose port number 1, port number 2, port number 3, and port number 4, like this. Okay. So my question is that this particular port, the port number 4, can play the 3 types of role during STP. Either it can be your designated port, your root port, or can be your alternate. And this is not only for this particular port, this is same for all the ports in the switch. Okay. And make sure the port which is in alternate state, the port which is in alternate, it will goes up to blocking state. So it means this port will not be able to send or receive any data. Make sure this. Okay, that's why I very cautiously use the word here as depends on port. It receives. Okay, just see here the kind of words I've used. Depends on port rule. It will receive and send. However, it can send or receive the BPDU depends on the port rule. Similarly, I use the word depends on port rule. And in the forwarding state as well, I use word depends on the port rule. So that's why I very cautiously using these words. Okay. So is everything is clear till here? And make sure when you are talking about designated port and root port. Okay. These two, designated and root port, they will goes up to forwarding. Okay. Clear till here, everyone? Any questions to be asked? Tell me.
I'm good.
Veer, Abdul, what about you guys? Veer is not there. Okay, so what we will do, we will just keep the things till here. Okay, and then on Monday, we will discuss the further elections. Okay, so such as elections to, as I discussed that in order to enable the STP, there are two types of elections which took place. One is your root bridge election and one is your root port election. Okay, so we will discuss the root bridge elections on in Monday class and rest in your Tuesday class because it's a little lengthy protocol. Okay, so that's why we are giving time to this protocol. Okay, so I hope these things are clear to each and every one of you.
Yes, I'm going to see the video when they upload
Yeah,
it. I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah, sure, you should. Okay, once because this protocol is very, very important. Okay, if any questions, Vinny, don't feel and feel hesitate to ask anything. Just feel free, just ask anything freely. Okay.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
and Vinny, just tell me what about what's the status of the previous videos which you were watching, such as before joining the class, the subnetting part and the rest of the
I'm
parts.
done. I catch up the first week. Catch up
So
already.
have you completed subnetting because it's very, very important. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so are there any doubts, any questions subnetting?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, and this and one of the websites I already discussed in that class as well. I hope you got that website,
Mm-hmm. I will show it.
subnettingquestions.com. Okay,
Okay.
clear. So and try to do as many questions as you could from subnetting part of. Okay, because in an interview, subnetting is very, very important, and they can ask you a lot of questions about from there.
Okay.
Okay, if you feel any doubts, okay, if you stuck in there, you won't be able to find any solutions to that. Come in the class, we will discuss it out. Okay, no worries.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Welcome,
Mm-hmm.
welcome. Okay, so we'll keep today's class till here. Okay, then we'll meet on Monday.
Okay.
Okay, so good night,
Okay,
everyone.
thank you.
Okay,
Mhm.
bye bye.